Once upon a time, a very long time ago, there stood a small town, and in that small town stood a tall building. This building was an orphanage, a place where the young and old without parents would stay. The children had a roof over their heads, warm food on the table, and grown-ups who made sure the children were safe and taken care of, and made sure they were brought into good and loving homes. The orphanage was one of the safest places for shelter in its time. Sturdy walls, cozy beds, decent education. It looked like it had it all. But not all was daisies and sweet dreams behind those doors. The orphanage lacked in toys and playthings to keep the children entertained. All they had were school books and various papers and pencils for the children to study and often draw or color. It wasn't until winter time came around that things took a toll for the orphanage. The heavy snowfall was like none other. Temperatures dropped drastically, and it was up to the caretakers to assure the children stayed warm, even having to stay overnight to assure the children don't get sick from the cold. And of course, as winter time came around, so did Christmas. It was the children's favorite time of year, a time where they can gather around the fire and drink homemade hot chocolate and decorate the halls with bells and holly. The children loved to decorate the Christmas tree. Each child would make a homemade tree ornament and hang it on the tree, and on Christmas Day the children would receive gifts under the tree. Most of these gifts contained new books, papers, and pens, and mostly just new clothes to keep them warm or if they outgrew their old ones. But not once did the children receive a toy. All the staff could afford was to buy them new clothes and school supplies. It was sad to see the children lacking in playthings. This ached the heart of one of the staff members in particular, the one who was closest to the children. Her name was Lisa. She had been one of the main caregivers working the longest at the orphanage, mainly helping with the children's schoolwork and serving them meals. She loved and adored the children with all their heart, always helping them and playing with them, making them laugh when they fell down, kissing their boo-boos when they get hurt. Every Christmas, it ached her heart to see the glint of disappointment on her children's faces when they don't get a proper plaything under the tree. But this Christmas will be different. She declared that she'd get those children a proper toy no matter the cost. She had been saving up as much as she could just so she'd go out and buy toys for the orphanage. She wanted to get them the most shiny, colorful, and beautiful plaything she could find. On her off hours, Lisa would run around the town looking for the proper toys for the orphans. And no matter where she went, she faced nothing but empty hands. Every toy shop, every local store she went to, they had either sold out or didn't have left to give. With the holidays around the corner, plenty of parents were rushing to buy their own children new toys. No new dolls, no Tinker Toys or stuffed animals, not even a simple board game or a deck of cards. One Christmas Eve, Lisa's luck was running out. Nearly all the toys in the toy shops were closed by the time she was off work. She felt as if all hope was lost, but couldn't let the children down. She had to do something, had to get them anything to assure that they could receive the best Christmas ever. In the midst of her lost in thought, she found herself walking in the middle of the woods. She had no idea how she got there. Looking down, she had been walking the dirt road leading upwards into the forest. As the sun was coming down, she had no choice but to hurry home before more snow came down. Just as she was about to turn back, she stopped and noticed something in the distance of the path in front of her. Curiosity got the best of her and followed the trail upwards to see where it took her. At the end of the trail, she ended up in front of an old and empty building. It didn't look abandoned. In fact, the building looked as if it were brand new. The paint looked fresh and it stood surrounded by a bright wooden fence. Lisa's eyes shifted to the big sign hanging up from the roof. Toy shop, it read in bold and bright colors. Perhaps someone was still here, Lisa thought to herself. Her eyes scanning around her, Lisa's eyes lit up with hope, stepping closer to the entrance of the building. Taking her first step on the porch, lifting hand up to knock the door. The door creaked as she gently knocked on it, slowly opening for her as she stood in the cold. "Hello?" she called out, taking a step into the toy shop. She instantly felt warm upon walking in, gently closing the door behind her to keep the warm air in. Upon walking inside, the place was lit up with candles as she looked around inside. She was met with various shelves of all kinds of colorful boxes and as well as various small wooden toys. "Is anyone here?" Lisa called out, scanning the room for any signs of someone being here. The more she looked around, the more empty she found the place to be in. There weren't many toys here other than a few small wooden toys the size of her hand, as well as a couple of empty and colorful boxes lying on the shelves and crowded around the floor. Lisa felt a strange feeling building up inside her. Despite the room's surprisingly warm atmosphere, she felt chills down her spine. She felt chills down her spine as she looked around. She sighed, not finding a single person or toy in the shop.
It's probably not even open. I should just head back.
Lisa told herself, stuffing her hands in her pocket as she turned around. But as she was about to reach for the door, she stopped to hear the sound of a loud thud from the other room. She spun around, her eyes darting towards the direction where she heard the sound coming from. Lisa looked up to see a door she hadn't noticed before, cracked open. She got that same chill up her spine, slowly stepping closer to slightly open the door.
"Hello? Somebody?"
She called out once more, making her presence known before opening the door. She was greeted by a dimly lit room containing only one candle sitting on a workbench against the wall. The room was littered with shelves and boxes containing wood and fabrics, as well as loose stuffing and clothes scattered around the floor. In front of the workbench hung various knives and other wood carving materials. She took a step closer inside. Her foot stumbled on something. As she took a step inside, her foot stumbled on something. Catching herself on the door, she looked down to see what she had stepped on. Lifted up her foot and saw it was a stuffed animal. Picking up, she realized it was a stuffed teddy bear. A very fluffy stuffed bear, with purple buttons and a purple bow on its neck to match. The stuffed bear felt soft, as if its fur was made out of the freshest cotton. Turning her head, she saw a big wooden box sitting in the corner of the room. Glancing back at the bear in the box, Lisa walked towards the wooden box. Lifting up the lid, she was greeted to quite the sight. Illuminated by candlelight, the box was filled with various bright, colorful toys. Lisa's eyes lit up at the sight. The sizes and shapes of each toy. Lisa found a beautiful wooden doll dressed in pink, a clown toy decorated with bright yellow, green, and blue colors, a white rabbit doll with pink button eyes and a bow, and a wooden puppet doll dressed in bright red ringmaster attire. Each toy she had laid her eyes on, she admired with great awe and amazement. Taking in each detail of each doll was crafted with so much time into them. Her eyes landed on the last doll, sitting in the middle of the bunch. It was a beautiful porcelain doll. She had bright brown brunette hair, a red bow on her hair. Lisa reached her hand inside, gently lifting up the doll to take in its beauty. The porcelain doll wore a green dress with a red ribbon bow around its waist, and white ruffles around the edge of her dress. The doll had rosy cheeks and wide blue eyes. It was beautiful. All these unique and beautiful toys were just left sitting here in the dark, left alone for who knows how long in this empty place. Surely the odds of Lisa finding it herself was no coincidence. She had been hoping and praying to find something to make the children happy. And here it is, right in front of her, a box filled with wonderful and colorful toys. Now, Lisa wouldn't normally take things that aren't hers. However, under the circumstances, these toys don't belong to anyone, meaning it wouldn't really be stealing. It would be much better to take these toys for the children instead of leaving them to collect dust. With no time to waste, Lisa picked up the box and takes off with it. Just as night was coming, she made her way out and down the path with her treasure, making her way back to the orphanage to wrap up the toys with the children, beaming with hope to see the excited looks on their children's faces. The next day was about to be a Christmas day like no other. The children stirred awake from their slumber, rubbing the sleep from their eyes as they made their way to the Christmas tree. What they saw beneath the tree was a sight they weren't quite expecting. Surprised, actually. Beneath the tree and besides the smaller wrapped-up presents sat a big box barely fitting under the tree. The children grew wary as they stepped closer to the enormous box. Others ran towards it, their eyes lighting up with excitement. Lisa had been watching the children admiring the enormous gift with the biggest smile on her face.
What's in the box?
Asked one of the children.
Open it and see,
said Lisa. The children pulled off the wrapping paper, opening the big wooden box by the top to reveal its contents. Inside the box made the children gasp and light up with joy.
Toys!
Cried the children, each one picking up a toy from the box, jumping in joy and squealing with glee, unable to contain their happiness. For the first time in many Christmases, they received toys just for them to play with.
These toys are for you all to share. Make sure to take very good care of them,
Lisa spoke, kneeling down to one of the children's levels as they ran around with excitement. The sound of laughter and screams of happiness echoed the room. Many of the children followed with thank yous from the children. One of the little girls ran up with the doll in hand, pulling Lisa into a big hug.
Thank you, Miss Lisa,
said the little girl, hugging her caregiver for a moment before going back to run and play with the other children. Lisa got up from the floor and smiled as she looked around the room, watching the children play and take turns with their new toys. It warmed her heart to see them so happy. Such genuine smiles, the sweet sound of their laughter. It was a wonderful feeling seeing those children being the happiest they have ever been. Lisa wouldn't trade that feeling for the world. Who would have thought that feeling of bringing such joy to others would come back twice as strong? The end.